Okay, so I'm gonna add some clouds to my sky now that's a little bit drier and the white's not gonna bleed into everything. I'm gonna use a big brush again. I'm gonna use some of that white that was already a little wet, and of course I got a little brown in it, so it's a little bit of an off-white, but that's okay. I'm gonna kind of blend it in. That's a little bit lighter or darker than I want. So I'm going to use a paper towel. So with that paper towel, I'm just gonna kind of wipe at it just to kind of give it some wispiness in my sky. So I'm just blending it instead of wiping it off. I'm gonna get some up here, down here. Not a lot, just a little bit, especially since I'm going to kind of cover some of this up with some leaves here soon. I just kind of want that sky to look a little more blended. Now I'm going to kind of dab to give it some texture. That first one was just too light, so I'm just texturing that a little bit, just to kind of dull down that blue because I didn't like how bright I had left my blue. So now we are going to use some black in a really tiny brush. To make a tire swing. Now I say use black because you're going around your brown. And use a very tiny pointed brush and get just the littlest amount of paint. I'm gonna make it look like it's looped around that branch. So I'm going across the top and underneath in a C, so it looks like a loop. And I'm just gonna make a line down. It doesn't need to be perfectly straight, but try to keep it as thin as you can. And I'm going to use a slightly bigger brush. Actually, I'm going to try to use a square brush. Clean one off real quick. And I'm going to make my tire swing. Now you can hang your tire swing down as low as you can. You can make your tire swing as wide as you want to. Just make sure that it's not touching your grass because it's probably not a very fun tire swing. And try to make it as even as possible. I get we're kind of freehanding, so I get it's not going to be perfect. And then using that smaller brush, some of that black off, I'm going to use a little bit of my white still to add some highlights in there to show kind of like the inner tube. And even around the outside, just to give my tire some texture. Now since my white is still really watery from doing my sky, it's kind of giving it a grayish look, which I am perfectly fine with. If you are not, then I'd just add some more white to your tray. If you want more of a white on your tire. I'm going to kind of leave it like that. I might go in and add some more white in the end, but I like that look. So for this next part, you're going to want a variety of brushes, different sizes, different kind of bristles. I just have a select few. And you are going to use your primary red, which I'm just putting this on my paint tray. You are going to use your yellow. And then I know I didn't say orange, but let's add in orange. Let's use the cadmium orange hue. And you're gonna want your crimson again. So we're making a fall-ish tree. And so those are the colors we are using for our leaves. So I'm going to start with orange on my base, and I'm just going to get some on there. I'm going to dab some off on my tray, and I am just going to dab around kind of like we did on that birch tree. I'm just going to dab some paint all in my tree. And I use kind of a bigger bristly brush. So I'm getting some solid spots, some not so solid spots. And I'm also going to go in with my yellow. And if you want to use the same brush the whole time, go for it. If you want to use multiple brushes, use multiple brushes. I kind of just lost my branch there doing that. Get some yellow on there. And you can go back and forth on those colors. You do not have to go in the same order as me. You don't have to go in any order, really. Just kind of starting to fill in that tree. Get some primary red in there. Oh, I had a little too much on my brush there. And don't be afraid to dab off your paint into your paint tray. That's what I've been doing, so I don't have too much when I go in. And don't forget to also, fall leaves fall. Funny, fall. So don't forget to also stamp some leaves down along the bottom of your tree as you go. Kind of like piles of leaves that you've raked up. And then go right up against that tree. Ooh, I like how that yellow just sat in there. And I am just tapping, and I have my brush pretty dry. I'm going to actually wipe some of this paint off real quick, but I am not getting this brush wet. I am loving the dry texture of it. Get some red over here. And you can make your tree super full if you want. You can make it already pretty much dead. Completely up to you. I'm going to add in some crimson down here. And get a little bit of yellow in with that crimson. I wouldn't do too much crimson. It's a little overpowering. A little bit more crimson over here. I'm gonna get a little bit more yellow. I'm really liking the yellow in this fall tree. So I might add more yellow than everything else, especially with how it mixes with everything. Again, there is no right or wrong on your texture on your tree. It's a tree. I might let that dry a little bit and add in some more yellow in a bit. But while we are waiting on that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of put a barn over here. You do what you want to do. It's not a requirement. I'm going to use some black real quick to draw the outline. And I'm just going to kind of make the front of a barn. I have a very dry brush right now that hasn't been cleaned out very well, so it's kind of a hard tip, so it's like drawing with a pencil. But I am using paint. Come down. And kind of square off the front of that like a barn. And then it goes back. So now I'm going to paint that in with my crimson on the front side. I don't know why I'm not being generous with it. I'm going to kind of blend that black in for some shadowing. And then I'm going to mix a little bit of brown and crimson together for my roof. So I'm using that raw sienna or burnt umber, whatever we used on the tree, just to make my roof a reddish brown. And then I'm going to go in with that really skinny brush again. I'm going to get a little bit more white out. And I'm just going to add some details on the front of my barn. Some doors. Get a little fancy, put some X's on the bottom and top there. Not too detailed since it is in the background. I didn't want it super close. That's why I left it in that lighter green area. I'm going to go around the top a little bit, kind of show some difference in the roof there. Add a window. Get a little window here too. Like I said, you do what you feel you want to. I am also going to go in with a littler brush in that dark green, that dark hooker's green, and just kind of add some darker green to that front there where that grass is real lush. Create some contrast in there. Get it up higher, get it down lower. It does not need to be at any certain length. I'm just kind of getting it in there to add some texture, even add a few up higher around my tree. Just to really bring that tree in so that people realize that that is the focus point, is that tree and the tire swing. Get a little bit of green in with my pile there that I've made. And I'm done. Real simple one for this week. Take your time, make it look how you want it, and I look forward to seeing them.